Well, welcome back to the podcast, Dr. Lynsey Rangel.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be back.
Me too, because we left with, I left with so many additional questions I wanted to ask you, but you introduced me to a variety of products and teachers that since we last chatted in March, I have since incorporated in my life and explored. And I just wanted to touch base on everything that I've been doing thanks to you.
Yay, I'm so excited.
So the one of the things that we talked about last time were LifeWave, stem cells, phototherapy, and I went ahead right after we chatted. We ordered the phototherapy, the stem cell patches from LifeWave, and
Yes.
I mean, I think people can see the results just by looking at the videos of
Yeah, you're
us
glowing.
before and after. Oh, well, thank you. Um, if people go onto YouTube and look at our video from March 2023, which really we recorded prior to that, I think we recorded in January. I
Yeah,
think I look very different
you
from,
do.
isn't that interesting? And the only thing that I've changed in my life is I've incorporated those patches that you recommended to me.
Wow, that's incredible. But I'm not surprised.
Yeah, so I haven't changed anything in my diet. I still eat a healthy, balanced seasonal diet. Still work out the same way. You know, I go to physical therapy, I do walks, I occasionally go to Orange Theory, I play beach volleyball. That's about it. And I work full time as a chef and podcast host and, Spice Blend Company. The only thing that I've changed is I started wearing X39 and the X39 patch, the Aeon patch, and then after a few months of that, I added in the Alameda, and then a few months after that, I added in the X49, and I've lost tons of inflammation. I've lost weight. My skin is glowing.
Which was your goal. That was your goal back then, too.
And those were
So that's amazing.
all my goals. And it's all because I'm putting stickers on during the day and at night. And this is the big thing is it it not just reduced inflammation, but I was struggling with a lot of physical pain from working so much as a chef. So repetitive actions in my arms, standing on my feet all day, and by putting the patches on the parts of my body that were really hurting, I healed.
It's incredible. This technology is really like at the forefront, I think, of what's coming in medicine and how easy and how the core of it is that it just innately works with your body to optimize your health and your wellness, which is the thing that we have talked about before, and that is your focus. And I think a lot of us who are into like wellness and health optimization is what I like to call it, and that and that's in preventative. Like
Yeah.
there's always these things like you said you want to be improved, but also you're looking forward for the optimization to live a high quality life.
So, how long have you been wearing some of these patches for?
It's a year for me now. I'm super excited. And I got introduced from I was actually in the this really like heavy detox,
Mhm.
like physical detox. And I finally got a colonic, which I don't know for anyone who's done any massive detox, it's usually one of the last things people want to do for all the reasons. But it was like one of the best things for me. But my colonic therapist introduced me to these, and I was very
Oh,
skeptical,
yeah.
but I also was very interested, and I was very much open minded about anything. I was like, the worst case, nothing happens as I researched them. The best case is that it like changes my life or all the things they're saying. And I was heading out into a period of my life where like I couldn't do all those things. Detoxing takes hours of your time. And I was feeling great and I had a lot more energy and vitality, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to sustain that 3 to 4 hours a day. That just wasn't realistic for like mine or most people's lives. So I was really interested to see how this like able to kind of experiment. And so I did what you did, which is I started the first 2 to 3 months, and I just did X39 and Aeon. And then from there, I kind of started to learn more about them and be able to experiment with one, adding one so I could really see what was happening. But I didn't even share with anyone genuinely until probably after the new year, because I was like, I didn't want to, I really wanted to feel like I had something, kind of like when we talked about it and you said like, no matter what happens, I'd like to have an experience so that I can share with people genuinely. And that's kind of how I felt. And I feel like that's very understandable and normal for anyone, because, you know, even though you've had some health things you want to optimize, you don't have any serious chronic conditions. And so for the people like that, like us in that situation, we don't always have the dramatic effects, right away. And so it's nice to see what happens over time. Some people who are very chronically ill who use this product can, see really dramatic health changes in a month, but that's because they're not doing anything else. And so it's really good for us to see what happens over time, because that's the products work better over time, which is why you look better, you feel better, your skin looks better. Same with me. It just continues to optimize your health at the longer you use it.
So, are you comfortable sharing the changes that you've seen since you've been using them since it's been a year?
My mental clarity, my ability, I used to use a lot of caffeine or things like that. I don't really do that anymore. I have a lot of energy. I wake up really early on my own. I'm able to do a lot. I've always been able to push through. I feel like we could probably relate to that. I can make it happen, but I have more of the energy and vitality to do it. I'm sleeping so much better, like the high quality sleep. I never really dreamt or had lucid dreaming, and since using some of the sleep patches, I have really high quality sleep. I test that on my Aura Ring. I have extremely better REM sleep. I've always had good deep sleep. I have better sleep scores. Inflammation. My skin's always been good, but it's even better. I've had wrinkles reverse. I
Oh.
did use Botox at one point, but I've not used anything since I used this. And I really wasn't trying to not do that, but I just realized I didn't need anything. My skin just kept getting better and better, and I didn't really ever want to do those things anyways. And so it's a lot of things like that. I just feel better. I can do more things. I used to have some back pains from standing all day, or feet pains, and it's just all of that's gone, or even some shoulder, just holding my stress there, and I just don't have any of that ever anymore. And definitely have lost some weight. I think some of the patches help with that. There is one that's good for appetite suppression, and so it's just my overall vitality, I would say, is improved. My quality of life.
So,
Oh, hair and
yeah.
skin, hair and nails too. My hair's grown a lot.
And that's part of why I started using the patches, was because I started to know my hairline, started to see that my hairline was starting to reverse. Like it happens to so many people. And I had always been taking hair supplements for years. And so I started doing the patches because I wanted to see if my hair would start to grow back in. And it absolutely did. And I had, yeah. So it's just only been good things since I've been using the patches, and it's only been 6 to 8 months. So I look forward to seeing where I am a year from now.
Me too. I'm excited for you.
Okay, so we're talking about these patches. We're referring to LifeWave.
Hmm.
I'll have a link to the product in the show notes, and a link to get in touch with you in the show notes if people want to learn more and have questions and kind of need some hand holding as they go through the process. So, what we're talking about, one of the patches helps stimulate your body recreating stem cells using phototherapy. What is phototherapy?
Phototherapy is using light as a modality for therapy. So it's been studied for a long time. There's 50 plus thousand studies on phototherapy itself. And so this technology is called photobiomodulation. And so it's taking the light that is actually inherent in the body and it's using it to actually optimize our body. And so the easiest way is it's using light frequencies, which basically like light operates like a wave, like you'd see in the ocean, just like up and down. And um, the visible spectrum of light, so what we can see, the colors, operate in this small tiny window of at a certain frequency. And so outside of that there are many other forms of light, and one of those is infrared light. And just like an infrared sauna, you can feel because of a certain strength of it, but we emit a low level infrared light from our bodies naturally all the time. You always are doing that. And so this technology utilizes what we're already creating, and it uses that to activate this patch, which then creates physiological changes in the body through stimulating the brain in different pathways. So the reason the patches all look the same
Mhm.
is because but yet do different things, is because how he's engineered them. There's a different crystal property that when our infrared light hits that, it activates and it sends back a different wavelength of energy. So then it stimulates something different in the brain and the body to turn on. So with the stem cell patches, it's turning on what's called GHK peptide, GHK copper peptide. So GHK peptide has been studied since the 50s, and there's a ton of scientific studies. I'll send you the link that people can even just look at and all of the different benefits of this. And this is why when you put on this patch, it was actually patented because they proved within 24 hours of utilizing the stem cell activating patch, you would turn on over 4,000 genes within the body. And so that's in
Wow.
part due to the GHK peptide in the body. And so they found in the bloodstream there were elevated levels of that peptide were evidenced by just 24 hours after utilizing this patch. And then it stimulates many different pathways. So the stem cell activation is actually just only one of those. It's just one of the most predominant. But what they found is, or what has been studied with GHK, is that as we age and get older, the natural levels of GHK peptide in the body decrease. So by
So,
increasing the levels of this, go ahead.
oh no, go ahead. Keep going.
Oh, by increasing the levels of our GHK, we're turning our stem cells back on. So what happens is as we age and those levels drop, then the stem cells that we have in our body, they turn off like an off switch. They're not gone. They don't disappear like collagen. So collagen in our body, we lose 1% per year at least after 25. But with stem cells, they just kind of turn off. So we can turn them back on. And the way we're doing this is through our own body by increasing our levels of GHK being turned back on.
And is that like similar to what one of the patches does is as we get older, our metabolism starts to slow down and
Mm-hmm.
one of the patches can help it fire back up?
Yeah. The SP6, the SP6 helps with appetite suppression, metabolism, and hormones. The X49 helps increase fat loss and burning, so it increases. It's one. There's many things that happen with each of them. It's kind of hard to say
Yeah.
that they only do one thing because it also increases muscle mass, recovery from workouts. It protects against osteoporosis, but yes, it does help with metabolism and fat burning. That one specifically. But a lot
Yeah,
of
when I
people have also found with the X. You go ahead.
when I started wearing the X49, the one that you're referring to, um, I just had more energy, even more so
Yeah.
than with the original one and the Aeon. when I started doing the X49, I had so much energy to work as a chef and then be able to work out afterwards, which usually working
So
as a chef is a workout itself, and it's hard to
itself.
be able to do something afterwards.
So they actually called out the sister patch to the X30 to the X39, and it kind of you don't want to. It's not like it's better than it. So some people get confused and they think, oh, 49 must be better than 39, so I'll just take 49. But
Yes.
the main product is the stem cell activation. If you only have a certain amount of money or you only want a certain like keep it simple, all I recommend to people is X39 and then the Aeon, which we'll get into. But X49 couples with the X39 and kind of amplifies, which is why you're getting better results. So people just take X49 alone, they don't get those kind of results like you are getting. But the other thing that it actually does, which is cool for people who are probably listening, is it actually has 5G protection. So
Oh,
you don't
really?
need to yeah, there's actually, and they proved that. So when you wear the X49, you're getting, and you live in California, so there's a lot of probably, all of the
Right over there.
5G towers, but um, a lot of us have like the phone covers or all the different things, but it's kind of nice. I mean, if I travel, especially, or do other things where I'm going to be with a lot of exposure, I always wear an X49 for sure.
Yeah,
So,
perfect to wear on an airplane.
yes. So I always wear that when I travel.
So, who and where was who invented and where were these LifeWave patches invented?
Okay. So the founder and owner and also an inventor, which is very uncommon for a lot of companies, is named David Schmidt. So he always has been an inventor. He has done many different things and he got involved with developing, like, he was in recruited to help create a product that would optimize energy for Navy SEALs. And so at the time they were doing these long dives, like over 24, 36 hours, and they were having to be dependent on amphetamines, which
Oh
of
my
course we
gosh.
all know the downside of those things. And so they had recruited all these people to basically create products or something that would help keep them up and give them the energy, but not have the effects of all the, of what was necessary. And we all kind of know that. I'm a doctor, a surgeon. The things you have, take a lot of caffeine to stay up, or, you push through, like we said. So the key was, he created this patch. The first patch is called the Energy Enhancer patch. And it's actually like a 2 patch, which means it's like there's one other product we have called the IceWave. So you use both. And so that was the first product he created, and it worked really well, so well that they it was around 2004 then it came public. So after he was done with that, he took the product and he realized, I don't want to give this to the government, or like I want to actually create something that I can help the optimization of other people's health and vitality. And so Olympic swimmers first used this in 2004, and then a
Yep.
lot of professional athletes started using it after it first came out because it optimized their energy naturally. Like and from there is when he started to create a lot of other products, and what he would even say, and all of us know, is the better quality patches. It's kind of like anything, probably the first recipe you ever made was good, but nothing like some of like the creations you have since then with more expertise in what you're doing.
Absolutely. Like with cooking, it's always better once you've made the recipe quite a few times. That's when you
Yeah,
really want to serve it to, you know,
others.
your best client once you've made it at least 3 times. Um,
Good
so
pro tip there.
yeah, absolutely. So I think a lot of people are becoming more familiar with these little circle patches that people are wearing for health optimization. I think a big part of that is because of that paparazzi shot with Meghan Markle and the sticker that it was on her wrist. So I assume there's a few other companies out there with similar but not the same products.
There's no company on the market that actually has anything like this, no matter what they're telling you, only because he has this patented. And the technology is actually so, it's like, I mean, the best way is just, it's just next level. Like, so when we look at this, in unlike every other patch that probably anyone else has ever utilized, it's called non-transdermal patch. So every other patch you've ever used is a transdermal patch. What does that mean? It's like transdermal, so it's on the skin. Dermis is skin, so dermal. So when you put like an estrogen patch or a nicotine patch on the skin, there's actually products in that patch, and then the skin absorbs them, and then they go into the bloodstream that way. So people can get a lot of rashes, a lot of reactions. A lot of people have a huge adverse nature to some of these patches because it can be very irritating to the skin. So there's not actually anything going into the skin here, okay? So there's this what the white part is the active part. It's about the size of a nickel. The whole patch itself with the adhesive sticker is about the size of a quarter, which is so nice. Like if you see like on, my hand, it's very small. It's so nice. You basically have to, if you want someone to notice it, you can put it somewhere. Like otherwise, there's no need that anyone would ever need to know you're wearing it. But so anyways, it's just why it sits on the skin is because what we talked about with the infrared light that the body emits. So the closer the skin contact to this patch, the more energy exchange you're going to get. So the more it's going to stimulate those pathways in the body. So that's the only reason, but nothing's actually getting absorbed through the skin from this. There's nothing going in from this. So when people ask, are there side effects like there are with other kind of patches, basically there aren't. The only side effect is if someone has a true tape adhesive allergy, and in that case they can put it inside their clothes or bra as something that will be close to the skin, and it will still work effectively. But we do know how it was studied, and we do recommend if you can wear it on the skin, you are going to optimize the best benefits you're going to get. But there is nothing else on the market like it, no matter what they're saying there is. And that's kind of like, it's interesting because like any other area of health, there is market competition. And that's what I find the most interesting about this product is that there's nothing like it, and there's nothing so easy as well. I'm sure you've noticed if there's days you can't do all the things you normally do,
Yes.
You're still optimizing your wellness through wearing a little circle band-aid, And often, I don't know what about you, I tell people, you're going to forget about it more often than you're going to remember it's there. And if you're really bothered by wearing it during the day, you can just wear it at night. You can wear any of them at night. And just make that simple for you. Because, you're not going to think about that. You'll be sleeping.
Yeah, I have a set that I wear during the day, and I have a set that I wear at night.
Me too.
How about you? Okay,
Yeah.
so what do you wear during the day, and what do you wear at night?
Okay, so right now, of course, X39 and Aeon during the day, and we always wear those together. So, and then I will wear glutathione 3 times a week.
Oh.
And the other days I'll wear SP6. So I kind of do 3 and 3 or 3 and 4. And then and then X49. So that's basically what I'll do during the day. At night, I wear Alameda and carnosine. Sometimes Silent Night if I really need some good sleep. So when it comes to the sleep optimization, the 2 best patches we have are called Silent Night and Alameda. So Silent Night specifically stimulates melatonin, which we know is very important for sleep. And melatonin is a pre-metabolite for a lot of different things that, in the body. It can become our own form of Valium, our own form of that's what do you call it? DMT. It's like a pre-product of DMT, so it can form a bunch of different metabolites that are really important to the body. So that one works really well. And I've tested that one. I've done each of them for a certain amount of time with my Oura Ring, and that one is really great. And you can use that one on kids. You can use that one even if you don't feel like the age appropriate, it's not someone you want to give the stem cell activating patch. And then Alameda is stimulating the pineal gland. So the pineal gland does produce melatonin, but they're working differently, which is why you can actually use both and get a kind of double effect. So it's not stimulating melatonin, it's activating the pineal gland and the frontal lobe. So it's going to help with memory, cognition. They've actually shown it helps people with Alzheimer's. But the other benefit is that it helps the skin. So it optimizes how your skin looks. People's wounds can heal very quickly. And it actually was shown, if you've ever had any of those energy mapping, and this is probably the audience that would understand that, where they have that Da Vinci and then you have all the colors. So they actually tested the Alameda and within 5 minutes, it reduced the oxidative stress in the body, and it changed to basically all this beautiful teal blue, which is actually the perfect color within 5 minutes of wearing the Alameda patch. So that's my number one for sleep because I feel like it does so much more, and it's only for nighttime. But if you if you really have sleep issues, I usually tell the people who ask me to do both of those together because they're getting that extra melatonin, which also helps reduce oxidative stress in the body, which just means we live in this toxic kind of environment, just is how it is, no matter you how clean you eat and all the different things. And so the body creates what's called free radicals from all the things that are happening, unless you live in a bubble, which we don't. And so what it does is it cleans those up for us. So and that's another we can talk about with X39 and Aeon. It has the glutathione, which does its own cleaning up too, but the melatonin will help reduce the oxidative stress in the body, and it will kind of clean up free radicals. So having extra melatonin, even for people who tell me I sleep well or I don't have a problem sleeping, well, you could use more melatonin because melatonin, and we'll get to it with Dr. Joe, but I've learned this the most through Dr. Joe, and I'm excited to hear what you think about it. So he basically teaches you how there's about 5 different main metabolites that melatonin can produce. So the body can either just create melatonin and utilize that, which is great, or it can create a bunch of different other products that are beneficial for the wellness and optimization of us, or DMT, mystical experiences, our own Valium, our own basically hibernating, so kind of help you really rest, let your body go into that state of rest and repair. So having more melatonin is something that can really benefit anybody.
That's so interesting. And it's such a more natural way to up your melatonin without a supplement that may have side effects. It's just helping utilize what you already have and upgrading it.
Yeah, and I love to bring up something that people ask me a lot because I think it can be really helpful. So people ask me about why would I use this versus I'm taking melatonin like you're saying, or a gummy, or or say we have a glutathione patch, I'm taking a glutathione supplement. Well, nothing's going to be as good as your body producing its own product. That's what it's meant to do. It's produce. It's not something that's seen outside of the body. And what we don't remember, it's kind of like any medication or drug you take, which is why I'm not here to say that they're all bad. There are times and seasons where we might need something, but we're not meant to stay dependent on any medication or I think any supplement. That's one of the best things that's happened to me when you ask me about what's changed. I used to take like a counter load, and not only is like the cost down, but like it's the thing is you're not absorbing a lot of it. And the truth is that what happens in the body is that if it sees a lot of melatonin, it fills the receptor sites for the melatonin, and then it actually down regulates the body to produce its own. So you're actually inhibiting your own body from naturally producing it more. So then you become more dependent on this outside source of melatonin or glutathione, or this is what happens with antidepressants like if you don't produce enough serotonin, then you take a pill that puts serotonin there, but then the body will produce even less, so it'll be more in need of that medication, which is why he has a patch called Nirvana that helps with mood enhancement and increasing serotonin in the body. Because what you're trying to do, and this is I think one of his main things, is like you're helping the body optimize back to how it naturally works, which is why you're saying, like, I'm doing the things that I love to do more easily, more effortlessly, with more, the longer people wear these, you feel like how you feel like 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And we kind of acclimate down to like not realizing we're losing energy or have more pains and aches. And we think that's natural way to live, right? But really, this is giving so much back to so many of us in terms of the energy and the ability to live like you're a decade younger. And who doesn't want to feel like that or look like that?
That is a perfect explanation of how I feel since I've started using this product. And that's why I wanted to have you back on to talk about it, because you talked about this product in that first conversation that we had on the podcast, episode 73. And I wanted to talk to you now that I've fully experienced it. But, I'm really aware of my body and how I feel in it and what's going on. So I consider myself someone that can comfortably self-diagnose. And when I do, I usually am able to resolve the issue. But I know not everyone is comfortable doing that or is as in tuned. So how do you recommend somebody approach choosing this product if they aren't in the same situation I am and are a little nervous about self-diagnosing?
So first of all, anyone is free to contact me and I can talk to them, explain to them. We can talk about what's going on for them, what their goals are, and I can specifically help them like choose give them options, and then they can choose what feels best for them. But ultimately for everyone, and I told you this when you started, and your brother and your dad and some other people we know, is like X39, and then Aeon if you're willing to wear 2 or can afford it, or if it's like in your budget, then and you're comfortable with that is going to be the best for everyone. And I love what we had a conversation about. It's really exciting to want to try a bunch, because I know we've been mentioning some other ones, and I love other ones, you love other ones, but it's like anything. This is an experiment, is how I tell people. You want to see what's happening here, so that when you add something else, how do you know what's happening? If you try 4 patches, like, we don't know what's working for you. And what if that doesn't become sustainable for you? You just don't want to do it. You just can't afford. You think about like keeping that up. So I also want to keep this with how it is. It's a simple product to use that we know, and you've had people on your podcast, I'm sure, where there's amazing health things that are a little bit complicated or take time, like I said about the detoxing, but they're still great. But this is one of those things where you can actually optimize your health very easily and not think too much about it. And so by keeping it at 2 to start, people can really see the powerhouse of what works. And even David Schmidt would say, like, if you could just use those and that would be enough. And even there are people who just use X39. I would love to talk about Aeon eventually because I think there's a lot more benefits than just the pain and inflammation reduction. But optimally, if you think about it, if you by 35, more than half of your stem cells are turned off. So in this last year, I've been turning on more than about 50% of my stem cells. And the thing is, by 60, you have less than 10% of your stem cells working, which is why the older anyone is who starts this product, they might see benefits faster than someone our age, but that's just because they're operating on that's almost like their gas tank is empty, and so they can sense that a lot more quickly than we might because we do have some reserves. But anyways, I think that's the thing, is that everyone should start with X39. I like the analogy that this is the main course of the product. If you're eating a meal, this is my favorite analogy. If you're eating a meal, this is this is the steak. The X39 and the Aeon are the main course, and everything else is a fancy side dish. And if you just take the fancy side dishes, they might be good, but you're gonna be I don't think I would really go back for that cost or that investment. And so I want people to feel like they've really gotten to use what the product really offers if they want to try it. But with that, and I think you mentioned in your podcast, a couple podcasts when you did what you're up to, that you really took what I offered you about really committing to at least trying it 3 months, and really optimally I say 6 months, no matter your age. But these are what we say: 1 month per decade of age at least, to start to see more optimal benefits, just to start. But we know from the data that in the first 6 months you're actually doing a lot of internal repair, the organs, the body, and that after 6 months you start a significant amount of age reversal. And they found in the studies they've done that if you utilize this product for 6 months, the average person has an age reversal of 8 years. Oh, wow. And the range was about 6 to 20 or 18, 20. So if the healthier you are, you're probably age reversing more, I would say. So think about that. That's what, if you listen to Gwyneth Paltrow, Goop, all of the different, whatever you listen to, it's all about what's the age going on, not what's my actual birth date. It's what's my internal age. And so to use a sticker and you for 6 months and you have turned back the clock at about 8 years plus, that that alone, you can only imagine what's happening inside of your body that you don't even have a sense of.
Absolutely. Well, what are the other modalities that you use in your life to support you? So we know you love your stem cell, your LifeWave patches. What are some of the other products, modalities, practices that you have that keep you flexible, youthful, energized?
Well, I love yoga. I love Kundalini yoga. I have been more into resistance training and things like that. I think it's so good for the bones and the bone structures and things like that. I really love infrared. I like infrared sauna. I love using my red light. I do that every night. When I do a meditation at night and I read at night and I do that really helps me a lot. I've actually started actively reading. I don't know. I know that sounds, but I don't know if you know Jim Kwik, but I really love Jim Kwik, and he does a lot of stuff around the brain. Mm-hmm. And I've been learning how to speed read, but he really talks about how much smarter you get by actually reading. And so I've been reading a minimum of 15 to 20 minutes a day. And the way it stimulates your brain and how active and young it keeps you. I mean, I'll listen to audibles too, but it's I will actually read and stimulate. my brain more through that. And they show that some of the smartest people on the planet are the people who actually read. So these are some of the things I really love. I've been cooking more on my own this last year. Thanks to you. I think like I'll always love what you say about the best meal is what you make
The
at home.
healthiest meal you will ever eat
Um,
is the one you make at home.
yeah. Yes, I know. I love that. You should make a sticker. Um, so I think that, I try to I'm really into like seasonally. Like I'll go equinox to solstice, solstice to, and I'll kind of be like, what are the practices I'm going to do with my health and wellness? And I think this kind of leads into like the Dr. Joe stuff. I kind of like, I used to want to do everything, and I kind of then am like, what am I trying to focus on in my body or my health and my life? And like, what am I going to do that's going to optimize that? And I kind of focus on the things in that season. So, like, for me, this summer season, and since we talked, I get out in the sun every day and do like sun gazing and do outside walking. Like it's so good for me and my mind and just everything. And then like getting the sun rays. I love so much about phototherapy and how you're with your internal biological rhythm and clock, and that serotonin melatonin pathway that's stimulated with light or lack of light, and basically optimizing your own like internal body. I think that's some of my favorite things right now is like being outside because it's summer.
So, I'm heading to a Dr. Joe Dispenza conference in a few weeks, and I wouldn't be going if it wasn't for you and how you've talked about it with our group of friends. And I would love to know what has been some of the big values and takeaways for someone like you who's a doctor, who's highly educated. What have been the takeaways of going to a conference where you learn about your brain, your subconscious mind, and meditation?
Oh my gosh, it's so like there's not enough time, but what I would say is like the biggest thing is that I'm the creator of my reality, of every part of it. And I really like I've taken one of the biggest things I've taken from him is he has this concept of like go from philosopher to initiate to master, or from like thinking to doing to being. So it's basically like a lot of us live, and you can even be like, we've all had a time and space of this. Like we consume all the stuff, we know all the stuff, we read all the books or listen, we do all the podcasts, we know the things, but we don't actually do them, you
Mhm.
know? And we can't become a master, we can't actually like integrate that well until we actually take it into experience. And so I think that I've really taken a lot of the things like I want a healthy life, or I want an optimized, finances, brain, whatever it is, and it's like I have to actually do something about it, and I've got to be clear. And like I said, also to be like I want everything to be different in my life, all like just like that, but focusing my energy and attention on one area, on one thing I'm creating, and really realizing that can happen so easily from the quantum, but also that if I focus it all there, it's going to actually ripple out into all the areas that I actually want to change. And it's going to make that next thing easier. And there's always going to be enough time for me to do the next thing, right? And it's going to happen at the right. And I think there's just my favorite thing, I think, is that like realizing that every time I go to an event or listen to him, but especially when I'm at an event, it's like I'm going to hear the things that are meant for me. Like I'm going to have the things that kind of like stick with me because at the right moment I met the right energy, the right auric transfer, because he says a lot of the same things you listen, but like I'm ready for that one piece. So every time I go to an event, I usually have like a huge aha of something that like, okay, this was what I really needed to hear. Now I'm going to take this into the next months of like really like integrating that. Like the last event I went to is about like he's like, we're all human. We all go default back to the program. We all go unconscious. But it's really, he's like, me. He's like, but it's like how long is the refractory period? How long does it take you to see that and then go back to that and then like choose to be greater than your environment, to choose to invest in yourself. And I think that, so every time I always have these things that really stick out to me, and it's more for me like that was what was for me, because everyone else is having their own experience. The first time I went, I'll never forget, I could only hear him say basically like, it doesn't matter how good your meditations are, it's like who you are outside of that. Because I was having these amazing, beautiful meditations, but I was getting kind of like activated with like the group of people I was staying with, and it was really confronting for me to be the observer of myself for an entire week and listen. And that's all I could really hear when, no matter what he was saying, was like, it doesn't matter, like, who are you in the other 23 hours? Because that's what really creates the quantum changes. And so I'm excited because like if you trust, like the right thing or a few things are just gonna be like so obvious, like for you. Even what you already shared to me, that you were like, oh, I when I listened to it, like this is exactly what I needed to hear. And that's what I think is like the best part about it.
Have you found, since attending his in-person retreats and then continuing his meditations at home, that it's easier for you to attract the things you want in your life?
Mm-hmm, for sure. I feel like I'm an easier vibrational match for everything. And if it's not happening, it's like I can just go create it. And I can also like, I've just learned so much about myself. I like, one of the first retreat, I was at this place where like that's why the philosopher to the initiate, like that means a lot to me, because I wanted to live from my heart space. Like I wanted to basically experience more love, and I was intellectualizing it a lot. But it wasn't really evident in my relationships or how I was treating all these things, my job, and I went to the retreat, and it was confronting because like there were people who've been doing the work, and you can feel how they're really in their heart space. And it was really about me being like, I have to really become a different version of myself if I want to experience that. And I think just seeing that in other people and feeling that made me see the potential and know that it's not separate from me, but it's just possible for me. But I actually have to just decide I'm going to do that, and I have to start taking the actions on that. And I think that, one of the other things I really love about, I mean, there's a million things I love about, this is why I go to these retreats, but one of the main observations I had at my first retreat was like, wow, if you start to talk to people, and I was like, wow, there are a lot of people who come back, and it's the same. You think about the Kundalini yoga retreats we've been to, they're all different. You could never get to the same one. And yes, Dr. Joe's not the same, actually, but this content is the same. Okay, he teaches this. I've been to like 5-week-long retreats, and they're the same, but they're not the same. Now the meditations are all live, and they're totally channeled for that, but it is the same meditation, I guess, but how he does it's different. But here's the thing, you're a totally different version of you. And so like I said, what you integrate, what you take in is totally different. And it's just a different way of teaching, where instead of trying to get all of it, like in Kundalini yoga, it's like you're trying to master this set of information from him. And you do get and that's why people come back and come back and come back and then volunteer. And then because it's like, oh, I needed the reminder. I needed that, like, you know what I mean? And so I think it actually I realized I have to be more present, and I have to be more intentional now than the first few times that I went. Like, because I can be like, oh, I've heard that, but do I actually live that? So I think it's really, I think you're gonna just have like the time of your life, because I think that, I mean, this was just like a quantum leap for me, like starting to go to these retreats. And the best tips I can give you are, go with it, make one clear intention. And like he says, don't put your attention where you put your attention is where you place your energy. So we want to like try to create 3 or more, all these things, but try to go with one intention and stick with that for the week, and then see what happens, because you're going to have a more amplified experience.
Okay.
Or like maybe in the first day or two, decide and get into, like connect with yourself, decide and commit to that. And then the other thing is, he says, really try to detach from your reality. So there's a couple times I actually really turned off my phone, left it in my room, or just didn't use it. And like, we all have things. So if you're going to use it, maybe you just do a certain, like an hour a day or something. But basically, like, he challenges you to, and most people won't or don't. And I think that if you do that, you have the next level experience, because that's like, I don't know, that's just what I noticed. Like, you can really dive into like becoming a whole different Whitney in like that week, and seeing yourself outside of the reality that you have right now. It's going to be really exciting is all I can say.
Well, thank you, because you helped lead me to doing this.
But you led yourself.
Well, I was reflecting before we got on the call how I was actually really proud of myself that I took teachings from a podcast episode and applied them. I took teachings from our conversation at the beginning of the year, and I actually applied them into my life and executed them. And, a lot of people listen to podcasts, to YouTube videos, to audibles, they read books, they gather all the information, but like you mentioned earlier, taking action and applying it into their life is hard. So do you have any recommendations for people that are tuning into this episode today or other podcast episodes, and they liked what they learned, but they haven't yet taken the step into applying it into their lives?
For me, I try to just like pick like one thing I can commit to, like the one thing I can do, and I make it simple. Like, I think about it like, you could relate it to cooking or working out. That's easy, or the meditating. But like, people want to be like, I want the longest, best Dr. Joe meditation. I'm like, actually, just do this 15-minute one and try to do it every day this week. And that will be more beneficial to you, because you're going to get a bunch of wins. You want the win of just like if I asked you about cooking, you would probably want to give me one simple recipe or two and ask me to try to make them for myself, like, cook 1 or 2 times this week. And then you build on that, because you don't get to the point where you are if you're like eating out every day and you don't do anything, or you buy groceries, but you throw them away. So it's like, I think people set themselves up for failure because I was thinking about this and reflecting. It happens in jobs too. You see someone who's successful and at the level you want, and you probably get these questions all the time, but it's like, how do I eat healthy? And they want like the expert tip. And I'm like, what? It actually just comes down to executing the simplest tasks repetitively. And even all the people, anyone you admire, whether it could Oprah, Gabrielle Bernstein, Andrea Frizzell, whoever it is, they are willing to have the discipline to do the simple things, and they just are willing to do them more consistently than most people are, and they're willing to believe in themselves enough. And then from there, like, nobody gets a complex workout routine without first just like getting to the gym. Let me walk. Like, it's like, I think if you can actually like step back and just keep it simple, you will. And I tell this in my meditation group all the time, is like, just do the 3-minute meditation, just do the 5-minute. And if you're doing Dr. Joe, he's got 10, 15-minute ones. Like if you can do that a week, 2 weeks, a month, then you can build on it. Then he has like a 30-minute one. And it's like, before you know it, you're like, I can't not do an hour one. But like if you try to do that and then you fail, what happens is people go back to the program, oh, yep, I knew this wasn't for me. And so I think we take too big of a piece of the pie because it looks good, right?
Yes.
And then it's too much for us to actually sustain, or you know what I mean? And so I think that's the biggest thing that I've really realized. And when I accept that this is more of a journey and stop trying to just like be at this place, it's like I would never imagine I'm where I'm at a year later, or that I would be giving you my tips about Dr. Joe. A year, like my year of my first week long is in like next week. So it's like, but you gotta just take your steps, right? And then you also have to let people be on their journeys, right? Like when I've shared with you and Kat and all the other people, it's like, it's just out of my own excitement and love, but you also have to be totally detached, like, because you needed to choose to go on your time, right?
Yes.
Or it would never be as meaningful, and you would never be as ready for the change that you're ready for, that you can feel, as if I was like, you should go to this one. No, you need to, like, that comes back to what you were saying about listening to yourself. Like if someone wants to use these patches, like trust you'll know the right time to reach out to me or you, or use them, because they're not going away and they're going to be available, and you can't really miss what's meant for you and your destiny. That's how I see it.
Lynsey, I've loved this connection and the teachings you've shared today. This has been really inspiring for me and uplifting. And I really look forward to re-listening to this episode. It's just such a treat. And I'm so grateful we met. And for the people tuning in today, Lynsey and I met at a Kundalini yoga retreat. And before I go to retreats or go into any event or situation where there's going to be a ton of people, open seating, I just always ask that the people that I need to meet to take me personally and spiritually to the next level are placed next to me. I just, choose whatever seats available and know and trust that the people that are surrounded next to me, I'll meet me, and they have some gift for me. And I have some gift for them. And am so grateful that I've met you.
I know we sat next to each other. It was the best.
Yeah, I've learned so much from you. And I really appreciate your friendship and your teachings and always reaching out when you've learned something new. So thank you guys so much. And for everyone listening, it's such a treat that we have this talented, educated, heart-centered doctor participating in this podcast. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I just value our friendship so much. And I can't wait for us to hear I'm sure you'll do an episode telling us about your amazing experiences in Marco Island.
I will fill everybody in. I'm so ready for a week of learning how to get out of my own way so I can move forward in my life. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We all need that sometimes. So if everyone who's listening, if you can't get away on a retreat, get away for a day by yourself. There's so many ways that you can just do a retreat at home, whether that's just taking a day for yourself, booking a hotel room somewhere nearby so you can have 24 hours to yourself. Personal reflection is always great. And then it makes it a lot easier to choose one of these modalities that you hear on a podcast and try to apply it into your life.
Yes, totally.
All right. Well, thank you
much.
so much. I look forward to many more conversations in the future.
Yes.